3 wood versus driver. These two clubs are very similar in intention, with one difference. The 3 wood is used to hit off the ground. The driver is almost never used off the ground. The humongous difference that makes this possible is that the 3 wood is a little bit shorter, maybe 3 inches shorter, can be 2 inches shorter. And this 3 wood has 15 or 16 degrees of loft, whereas the driver has 9 or 10 degrees of loft. Now, the lower you get down in loft, the more impact it makes when you have more loft. A driver with 9 degrees is going to be much more difficult to hit for most people than a driver with 12 degrees. A 3 wood with 13 degrees is way more difficult than a 3 wood with 16 degrees. But the driver is only ever used off the tee. The sole intention of the driver is to get the ball in play with the maximum distance in the bag. It's the lowest lofted club in the bag besides the putter. Putter's used along the ground. Both the 3 wood and the driver come with graphite shafts nowadays. That makes the clubs both much easier to swing fast and get more speed into the ball, allowing more distance, very often a higher flight, depending on how you've been fitted for your shaft. So there's a lot of nuance that a fitter can do when you get fitted for these two clubs to get the ball airborne and straighter. Now, the driver sole intention is to get the ball as far as possible, but we often forget in play. That's why with both these clubs, 3 wood and driver, we don't want to hit the ball as hard as we can. We let the loft do the work. Now, the big difference between the driver and the 3 wood is that you're going to tee the ball way higher on a driver, and you want to hit that ball up. You want to hit up onto the ball to get maximum distance. So your club bottoms out here and is on the rise after that point, hitting the ball into the air with a nice high launch angle. With the 3 wood, it's a similar thing, but just not as to such a great extent. And when you're hitting off the ground, obviously you can't hit it that much into the ball with a +6, +7 degree, attack angle. Attack angle is that angle your club hits the ball after it's past the bottom of your swing. So we don't want to bash it too hard. We want to let the club do the work, let our mechanics work. And that's going to give you the longest shot in the bag. We generally don't hit the driver off the grass anymore. The older drivers you could, but now with the big, thick, long face like this and low loft, it's going to be incredibly difficult to get the ball airborne. So let's say you're on the fairway and you want to hit a shot from 250 yards. It comes out low and very often with a slice, and you have much less control. Anything with 9 degrees of loft is going to have less control, because every degree or half degree you open and close the face, you multiply that by your swing speed and you're going to go further and further offline. Now, the intention behind a 3 wood is to give you another tee club, right? People will argue that it has the same dispersion left and right as a driver, which is true, but it doesn't go as far. So when you hit the 3 wood and it goes offline the same amount as a driver, it can't reach the same shizer. So when you're not in the deep shizer, you have a shot. That's the intention. The 3 wood can be used with the tee as like a safety club, okay? But you have to make sure it's a safety club. You can't just say it is a safety club. If you're losing balls with it, it ain't a safety club. The second intention, which the driver doesn't have, is to hit the ball off the turf. Get the ball close to the green, inside 30, 40 yards for a nice chip on a par 5 or a long par 4. And that's the big difference. This can be used off the tee and off the deck. But remember, for a 3 wood, you need to have a good swing speed, because 15 degrees of loft is not that much. Even with a driver, 9 degrees of loft, not that much. If your swing speed is below like 110 mile per hour, you may want to crank up that loft a little bit, get a driver with 10, 11, 12 degrees of loft. Maybe you're going down to 90 mile an hour. That loft can help get you more carry. See a coach, get the attack angle right by getting your mechanics right, hitting up onto the ball, and bam, more distance. 3 woods, wow. I really believe you need a strong swing speed. Mine is 115 mile per hour with the driver, so with the 3 wood probably a little bit less than that, and that's more than enough to get the ball airborne confidentially. A lot of the time I see people playing 3 woods have no business playing 3 woods. The concept of hitting the 3 wood is wrong. You're trying to hit down on it, you're trying to squeeze it through the turf. 5 wood can do a whole lot better job for you than looking down at essentially what sometimes looks like a putter. So driver feels good, hitting it off the tee, wow, free. 3 wood off the deck, if your swing speed's fast enough, if you're confidential, Okay, otherwise 80% of people bump it up to the 5 wood, 19 degrees of loft, bam balam. Come on now, partner. Hey, that's driver versus 3 wood. 3 woods nowadays pretty defunct. I'm only using this because I had it fitted specifically for the intention of getting it off the tee straighter and getting it close to par 5s inside 30 yards, because I can. If you can't, there's no point in getting a 3 wood just for the sake of hitting it as long as possible when you're going to get yourself into shizer. So there we go. Driver, everybody can eventually get. 3 wood, touch and go.